These are my problem children. Allow me to introduce you. Hello and Happy New Year. I'm Lindsay Crane, and today I'm not gonna share my retro craft dreams. These are something else. If you saw my last video, you will know that I pulled one of my unfinished projects out and reworked it so that I could finally have a beautiful completed piece hanging on my wall, which I believe is out of frame. And as I was digging that piece out of my box, I was confronted with everything else in that box. And for my 2023 New Year's resolution, I thought, I need to really buckle down and commit to finishing or at least working on these projects and clear out this box as much as I can. And so today I thought I would just introduce you to some of these projects. Some of them are going to show up in episodes on this channel, and others may not, but maybe you can still hold me accountable. Say, hey, did you do any stitches on that thing yet? And I'll say, no, but I will. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm just going to walk you through some projects that I have started in the past and need to finish in the future and am not working on in the present because they all have problems. And that's what we're going to do. So let's get started. Here is my box of I don't wanna. This is not all. This goes with something in the box but doesn't fit. And I got this. We'll get to that in a minute. First of all, if you can find a nice big flat box like this, highly recommend. It's great for keeping your pieces flat. This was actually supposed to be where I stored my finished pieces that are not mounted and framed, but instead, it's my unfinished pieces. All right, so first up, we're gonna have a couple projects in here that I actually started when they were new. They're not quite vintage. I mean, they're vintage of, the year in that they're old, but they're just old. They're 20 years old. I usually go with vintage being 30 years, so they're not quite there yet, but they were started new. So shall we take out of the box? Let's take out of the box. So first up we have Roses on Lace Pillow by Candamar Designs, 1994. I started this in the late 90s as a Mother's Day gift when my mom was really into the Victorian decor kind of thing. And I take it out. So this is as far as I got. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. I'm pretty sure this was my first embroidery too. I don't remember why I didn't finish it. I was 20? Got distracted, I'm sure. I wasn't very good at finishing things until only the last couple years. But now I got it back out of storage a couple years ago. I had my dad send me my unfinished projects that were in storage. This one I don't really intend to do much with anytime soon. My mom's not into Victorian style anymore. I'm not really into embroidering generic florals, but I'm going to keep it. I'm going to hold on to it and possibly at least do some work on it at some point for one primary reason. Okay, it is pretty. But the main thing for me at this point is the candle wicking. I've never done candle wicking before. I don't know much about it. I don't know what differentiates it as a specific type of embroidery other than the fact that it's basically white on white. And that's the part that I need to test. So I've seen quite a few intriguing vintage candle wicking kits and been tempted to buy some, but knowing myself, doing all that white on white, I can't guarantee I'd finish one of those projects. So this will be like a test piece to see if I can do the candle wicking and stick with it long enough to complete a project. So if I see like something that I just have to have that's candle wicking, I gotta make myself try this one first. So this is my test piece, and that's why I'm going to hold on to it. So that's number one. All right, number two. From the same period, one of the other projects that my dad sent me out of storage, Creative Accents Underwater Mysteries, designed by James Himsworth from 1998. Again, purchased new, not quite vintage, but it is, you know, of the year 1998. And this piece, I actually have done some work on. It's been in a hoop for the past year because I did actually work on it. I should throw up a picture. I'm like, you know, proud of myself for doing some. That's where it started. And so, you know, I've made some good progress, but here's the problem. I really hate working on this. Like, it's so awful to work on. Okay, so first of all, this is an ordinary fabric. It just is white fabric. Like, it's not even cotton. It's just white fabric. The X's are just printed on, but they don't even meet in the corner. So there's not a hole for you to be aiming for, and they just, you know, they never come out even. And that was really frustrating. And then there's parts like this that there's like not a single full cross in any of this, which, you know, I could understand if not for the fact that this piece is not only cross stitch. There are areas like this that are, what do we have? We have satin stitch, couching, back stitch, stem stitch, straight stitch, French knots. Like, there's other stitches in here, and yet they still put these like partial crosses. I decided early on when I picked this up last year, I was working on it like just during lunch breaks. So I was just doing a few stitches here and there. And I decided very quickly that, you know what, I'm going to not care. I just want to finish it for the sake of me committing to finishing things. And I'm going to let my X's be messy and awful because, like, there's no way for that not to be the case. And then it's not even a grid. It's, you know, I had to go in and draw my own grid boxes around each color because it's not even a grid. And it's so, you know, when you're trying to do stuff like this, it just, yeah. So I'm going to probably not finish this piece this year, but I do want to pull it out every now and then and just chip away bit by bit because I do want to get it done out of my hair, have that like notch on my belt, like I did it, I achieved it, yay. So it is gonna get finished someday. I just don't know when. This piece sucks to work on, and you know, it's pretty. It was supposed to be a gift 20 years ago. But yeah, so that is that problem child. Now we get to look at two pieces that I really love. And they are my top priority in this box. I did combine their threads and yarns. So first up we have Orchids and Palm Leaves. It is a long stitch needlepoint, Monarch Horizons by Reinardy. It is beautiful and I love it, and it probably would have been finished by now if I had not started a YouTube channel. It doesn't really have a problem per se, but there is an issue, and that issue is mainly that these yarns are just not in great shape, especially the light pink. Like, you probably can't even see my stitches there because these yarn, they're so threadbare. So when I do work on it, I have to take extra special care and be really attentive and make sure that my yarn is not fraying apart, which is really hard to do when you want to just pick it up for a few stitches at a time. So I have not worked on it. Oh, I forgot to mention the year. It's 1986. So this one's probably my top priority. That's why it's still in the frame. The needle's still on here. But yeah. And if you're curious, that's what the back of a properly done long stitch piece looks like. So there's that one. And then by the same designer, I have this Art Deco Floral printed counted cross stitch. Roger Reinardy, Monarch Horizons. This one is 1987. And again, I love this piece. I love this design so much. It is the most 80s thing I have ever seen in a craft kit, and I adore it. And I hate working on it. I only recently took it out of the frame. It's been sitting there, again, since I started this YouTube channel. I've actually been working on this one off and on for like a year and a half at this point. So it has a couple of issues. Okay, so the thing is kind of multifaceted. Each flower and leaf has a center mark in it, and, you know, that would be great. Except the center marks are not printed exactly on the center. So I would count out to like check that I had the correct hole for the center. But then also the printing is not the exact shape. Let's see if I can compare one. Yeah, so if you look closely at like the edge of 3, it's got all these bumps in it. It's got all these bumps in it. Not all those bumps in it. So like that's probably not the best example, but basically the outside edges of the flowers aren't exact to the chart. So when I counted out from the center, I didn't always get it correct. And I messed up a few times and I had to undo some. And then the last time I had to undo it, I had so many colors in. I mean, it's like 20 or 30 stitches. It's not a big deal. But I was trying to decide if I wanted to redo it or just modify the shape of the flower, because I didn't want the edge of the flower, stitching over the black printing. So that's one of the things that, I had to take into consideration. And then I got distracted doing YouTube and I just never went back to it. And then the other thing about this kit is that it showed me how much I dislike 1/2 and 1/4 stitches. Don't like them. But I love this piece. I've got to finish it. I just have to fix it. So those are my Roger Reinardys that are in progress. I've actually got more. And I'm moving on. Next, we have this adorable little kitty. What is that? XC 1990. So this, I keep kicking myself. It's a calico. It's not an 80s calico. It's a 90s calico. But what made this kit, who is this by? Frisky Calico Kitty Design 1. What made this kit special is that the pieces were pre-cut. And I did a really dumb thing. I did not buy the special pre-cut fabric. I bought the black kitty. And it had a little orange bow. So here is my orange bow. I made that. That went out. That went well. Well, the tie to make the bow. I was pretty proud of myself. First time kind of doing that kind of thing. And then I started to stitch the ears, and I did a back stitch by hand, only to discover that this black fabric, again, the whole point of this is that it's pre-cut, is crap. Like just it's plastic, like pure. I don't know what it's made of, but it is just the worst stuff. And, I went to turn the ear and it just shredded apart on me. And so I had to buy some fabric, and I bought some really cute modern fabric. It's black on black with like moons and stars to make my black kitty with. But I just keep kicking myself like I should have just bought the Calico. So I need to use the original pieces from the kit to make a pattern and then cut my fabric from that. All of those pieces, by the way, are with my patterns. That's why I can't show you those pieces. But fingers crossed, this is what you'll see me do for my Halloween project this year. So there's your sneak peek. So big problem on that one. Just really the worst fabric and really bad call on my part. Like, pro tip, like, always make sure you're getting the vintage fabric, like the vintage print, like, because, you know, I'm going to make a pattern out of it anyway. So there's that one. Okay, this one, I love this one. This is my lucky house. So we've got Bright Calico House Pillow by yours truly, 1980. They also made this in a brown version. And it's my lucky house. And I've got some parts done. I'm hand sewing this, and I'm not going to make a pillow with it. I'm going to frame it. But, so I've got my roof, and I've got a few pieces. But here's the problem. This one did have a big problem that really distracted me and set me back. If you can see, the eyelet lace is an integral part of the design here. And in the instructions, especially for this part, it even says, cut one scallop, okay? Well, sometimes in these kits, they will put in substitutions of fabric and stuff, and for the most part, that's fine, you know? If they substitute the lace on a trim like that, no problem. But substituting this, I don't have what they subbed it with because I did something with that ages ago, but what they subbed it with was like a 3/4 inch eyelet with scallops that were just super tiny. And there was no way to make it work for the door. And I couldn't even really make it work for the curtains because like they wouldn't overlap the way you see it here. So I really stalled for a long time trying to figure out what to do about the eyelet on this piece. And I shopped on Etsy and I looked all over for a vintage eyelet that matched this one with the 5 points. Couldn't find anything anywhere. At some point, I did finally find a grab-all bag of random eyelet and lace at Goodwill, and I think this one is what I finally decided to move forward with, but I lost the momentum. I did a little bit here. I think, what have I got? Yeah, so it doesn't quite work the same. It might be a little smaller. So it's been a real challenge with that. I was really proud of this. I am going to probably use this for the door. I made my own tiny piece of eyelet, which I love it. Like, I love that I was able to do that and, you know, learn how to do that. It's really pretty easy. It's just a lot, especially when you have to do the edging like that. So I only did the one piece and I might use that for the door. But again, it's like, do I really want to have two different eyelets? They're not even exactly the same color. I don't know. So this piece is pretty high priority, but again, it's also still really a challenge. I just need to buckle down and do it. So that is my Bright Calico house pillow. I love it. This one's fun, but it's not. This is the Christmas Candy House Kit on printed plastic canvas by Wonder Art. Does it have a year? I don't think it has a year. As I recall, there is no year on this piece. So that's what this yarn is for. Here's my gingerbread house yarn. Here is my pro tip. Printed plastic canvas fades. You see that? I don't know what part of the house that is. Okay, these are the roof, but where are the edges? I don't know. I managed to cut some pieces out, but generally, like, I don't know where to stitch them because you cannot see where anything is. So this was my challenge. I started this, I think it was just last year. And, you know, fortunately it does actually have the grid here that shows you the size and like hole count of the shapes, but it doesn't have a charted pattern. So what I have to do now in order to make this kit is chart it myself. I actually have to go through and count every stitch on this picture, and thank goodness it's a large picture and shows both sides, although this one's tiny. But yeah, I have to go through and chart this whole thing based on the pictures, and it's just tedium. So that's why this one stalled out. I made some decent progress, but I'm still kind of working out a good workflow for charting anything. I actually have some original designs I want to chart, but I don't have a good way to create charts yet. Nothing I've tried works the way I would like it to. Anyway, yeah, this piece I really would love to get done, especially because that yarn takes up so much space. But I have a lot of work to do in order to do this. So that is my pro tip. If you are looking at a vintage plastic canvas kit, which I absolutely advocate for because plastic sucks, so we may as well use the stuff that was made 20, 30, 40 years ago. Use that up before we have companies make more and put more plastic into the world. But if you are looking at a pre-printed design, be prepared because it fades. Maybe it's just this company. I feel like I've seen it in pictures before. After I got this, I knew to like look at pictures of the back to see if I could tell. So that's that one. I do have a couple other things in here, but they're not really problem children. They're just things that I probably will never finish. This is a sampler piece that came with, you can see that yellow box behind me, the Golden Adventure Kit of Needlecraft. It came with a little loom and a whole bunch of things, and it's probably from the 60s, but it could be the 50s. I don't really know. So this is with that, and I actually probably need to just put it back in that box because I don't plan on doing this. And the threads that it came with are full of exoskeletons. So that's the issue with this one. I have to learn a good way to clean exoskeletons out of vintage threads because, again, as I've said in a previous video, part of the point for me is to use the vintage materials. If I didn't want the vintage materials, I would not get a kit. I would just buy a pattern. But I want the vintage materials. So that one's that. These are just some embroideries I'll probably never finish because they were college pieces. And then this is not a vintage piece. This is my first attempt at needle felting, and I got distracted because I think it's tedious. No matter how many times I poke it, like the head is only ever attached by like 4 threads. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't have the right equipment. Like, I did get it at a Daiso Japan, which is like a dollar store for Japanese stuff. It's like $1.50. So, you know, it was all cheap stuff. Maybe my materials, maybe my tools are not the highest quality. I don't know, but it's just, I stabbed that so many times and it's still not even attached. But can you tell what it is? This is a guessing game. Who knows what that is? Can you tell? Need some legs. Any guesses? I'll let you know at the end. That's not all. There's one other thing that I need to work on. My first sweater. So this is a stash buster of a sweater. I decided to try to just make a sweater out of rectangles. This is a, this is the, what is it, Lion Brand? This is homespun yarn. So I was just making rectangles. I know how to crochet and knit in a rudimentary level. I've made a lot of things. I do just fine. My things look nice, but they're basically rectangular things. Occasionally round things, but generally I suck at following patterns. Like, it just turns into a jumble of, like, it may as well be binary code for all the sense it makes to me. Like, I don't know. So I was making a sweater out of rectangles. I wanted it to be nice and big and baggy so that instead of sleeves, it just would come off and just, you know, the sleeve cap would just be the sleeve. And I was connecting the front and back panels with this little wide strip to like make a nice large neck opening. And this is all the yarn I have left. None of these are actually cut, so that's a good thing. The problem is I was actually going to buy more yarn, but they don't make these colors anymore. They don't even make colors that go with these colors anymore. All of my yarn is 16, 17, 18 years old. Save a couple skeins. So what I'm going to do now is frog it and make it narrower to see if I can make like a vest type thing. It's still probably not going to be exactly what I want. I might try and find another kind of yarn for it because I really wanted this color to be the one that there was the most of, but that's not going to happen because the red is what I started with a full skein of and the others were just partials. Should I show you my plan? This is going to be a whole episode, by the way, so I don't know if I want to show you my whole plan. But I'll put it on film so I can decide later. So I've got this beautiful little book. I need the whole series, but for now, I just have volume 1. This is Stitch by Stitch. It's 1980, 80 something. 84. And it's got some really fantastic projects in here. This. And, oh, I thought there was another. So it's got some great just rectangular pieces in here. And so I'm going to take inspiration from these, from this book and these pieces to make my rectangular vest type thing. It even has the little shouldery bit that I was doing. So, you know, and I wouldn't make it this long and I probably wouldn't tie it around the waist because that doesn't look good on me. But I'm going to take some inspiration from things like this. And this might be a separate sweater, but I'm probably going to make that too. So that's the plan with this one. And this actually is, even though there's other pieces that are stitches that are higher priority, this one I can take on the plane with me when I move and not have any fears that they're going to steal my crochet hook. Benefits of being a multi-crafter: just choose a craft without a needle when you're flying. So those are my problem children, and you know, honestly, it's not as bad as I thought. There's just a lot of work in them, but they're not anything that I can't move forward. They just, no, yeah, there is a reason I call it my box of I don't wanna, because I don't wanna have to chart that whole thing from a picture. I don't want to have to cut out cat shapes. Actually, I don't mind that. I just didn't have time. So, you know, it's not as bad as I thought. But I hope you enjoyed going through those projects with me and that you will want to see some of them. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see those projects in the future. Typically on this channel, I do an episode around a single project, beginning to end. And some of these projects may show up in future episodes. I intend for some of them to show up in future episodes. So stick around for that. This might be my only video for January. I try to do 2, but I am moving in mid-January and editing is a challenge for me, especially on the road. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, have a great new year and a great, fantastic, wonderful, crafty, brilliant 2023. And I will see you next time. Bye. It's Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender. These are my problem children. Yes, this one too. Allow me to introduce you. That's Toby. Let's see, there's Kate over here. That's my problem neighbor. Got Charlie, Megan, Tony. This is my problem chair. But so is that one. Both my chairs are problems now. Bob, my chair is the squeakiest. I guess that'll do it. I feel like there should be more. That's why I didn't finish a thing. I don't have a finished thing to show you. That's why I feel like I'm not done. I do have a finished thing. I made this on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. There. Okay, so there's my cute little 1980, 85 cross stitch. Okay, there. I had a finished piece for you. And we're going to stick him right back up there. So that's why this episode felt incomplete. I didn't have a finished piece. Okay, we're just going to stop now because I'm just going to keep talking if I'm allowed to.